We just reacted to WestJet's video on Mizkif suing Emiru, but I think Quinthio will probably have a bit more information on it. Mizkif is suing Emiru and Asmongold by Quinthio. The top video, the original video being the top link in the description. Please support it. Please go show some love to the original content. And let's get going.
Mizkif is suing Emiru, but not only that, he's also suing Asmongold and 2 other companies. Now, when Mizkif said he was going demon mode, I think he was talking about something a bit different, but this now kind of makes sense for why he'd been silent for the last week here. We've got the case, so we'll be going over some of the information, also, what he's suing them over. Shocker here, it's defamation. Now, if you're employed, you probably don't know what I'm talking about right now. If you need to catch up, here's the...
I'm unemployed, so I do know.
Start of me doing some coverage about this drama between Mizkif and Emiru. If you're new here and enjoying the coverage that I've been doing so far with this drama, consider subscribing. And additionally, if you found this information useful, want to get it out in front of other people, give this video a like, just helps boost it in the algorithm. But regardless of if you do either of those things, thank you for watching. To start things off, if you guys are curious and want to read along with me, I'm going to leave a link to this post from Livestream Fails as the top link in the description below. You can see here, this is headlined, Top Twitch Streamer Files Defamation Lawsuit Against Fellow Streamers. And this comes from kxan.com. One of the biggest names on Twitch is taking legal action against 2 other high-profile streamers and several gaming companies. Matthew Renato, known to millions online as Mizkif, has filed a lawsuit in federal court against Emily Beth Shunk, known online as Emiru, Zach Hoyt, known online as Asmongold, and 3 companies, OTK Media Inc., Mythic Talent Management Inc., and King Gaming Labs Inc. And then, of course, top comment, the important bit that we're going to be going over is the whole case here, main doc, and then there is some interesting information also, which is OTK's letter, which OTK was a company that Mizkif was a part of. This is them sending a letter to Mizkif concerning his behavior that had come out in regard to what Emiru had posted, and Mizkif's stream following up afterwards. So this is the case itself. This is the court documents that we have access to here. This is kind of the introduction for Mizkif, what he's been doing, his YouTube successes, streaming success, all of that good stuff. But as we go through this, number 15 is where we start with the, accusations. Through the acts and omissions described below, defendants Shunk, Hoyt, and OTK have, acting in concert, wrongfully and baselessly accused Renato of serious criminal activity for no purpose other than to harm him, his reputation, and his business, and arrest from him control of the companies that he helped build. Renato and defendant Shunk began dating in 2022. The relationship was not easy on either side. They would routinely face harassment from Shunk's followers, some of whom were stalking Shunk. They got into arguments regularly, and I'm just going to say Emiru at this point, and Emiru threatened to kill herself in many of these arguments. Emiru would dress and behave in ways that Renato thought made her unsafe in light of the ongoing stalking from some of her followers. And then this is more at the end of the relationship. Emiru expressed her desire to marry Renato. We heard that from Mizkif's claims as well. But then they address her statement. On October 24th, 2025, Emiru hosted a live stream on Twitch. On the live stream, she lied and baselessly accused Renato of psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment.
Yeah, that's not gonna go.
Sexual assault and threats.
That's not gonna go. We have videos and things that line up with what she said.
Of blackmail. These slanderous accusations were made live before an audience of tens of thousands and have since been viewed millions of times across various platforms. In the same live stream, Emiru gives accounts of their relationship that clearly do not support the allegations she levied. For example, in her own description of the purported sexual assault, Emiru states she and Renato were kissing. He tried to initiate intercourse. She made clear she did not want to, and he stopped, respecting the line that she had drawn. Nonetheless, she continued to defame Renato and portray him as a perpetrator of sexual assault in a video she knew full well would be viewed by millions. That very same day, OTK sent Renato a letter purporting to terminate his interest in the company. OTK claimed it was entitled to do so based on the nature of
I'm honestly kind of curious about the OTK shit more. You know? Like out of all the
allegations, this letter asserted a number of purported breaches of the owner's agreement. No such breaches occurred. Nonetheless, OTK asserted that it was reclaiming Renato's 1.1 million shares of OTK without payment. This letter further asserted Renato owed amounts in excess of $600,000 to Mythic for management fees relating to purported breaches that did not occur. Through OTK, Mythic demanded repayment of these allegedly owed fees. Further, the letter falsely asserted Renato violated his agreement agreement with King purported to reclaim Renato's 93,000 shares of stock in King and demanding payment of $296,401.92 as a result of purported breaches that, again, did not occur. Mythic, King, and OTK made no serious investigation or inquiry into the basis or truth of Emiru's allegations before repudiating their agreements with plaintiffs. Mythic, King, and OTK did not even ask Renato for comment or any information in his possession disproving the allegation. Instead, a few days after Emiru's defamatory livestream, OTK, perpetuating the defamation, put out a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, that it fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru and ... stands by her side and admires her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. In this statement, OTK falsely claimed it had terminated its relationship with Renato some time ago for reasons unrelated to the recent events. And then in regard to Asmongold's role in here, Asmongold, or Hoytier, who streams under the handle Asmongold, is part owner of OTK. Since Emiru's livestream, Asmon has continuously defamed Renato on a near daily basis. He has claimed inter alia, among other things. This dude hired a fucking dork to defend him in court. Okay, dude. He has claimed, among other things, Renato should be in jail, claimed he was abusing and manipulating others, hurting others.
So out of pocket, just so randomly telling this guy hired a dork to defend
other people and becoming an aggressor. They point at direct instances of this, but it's very clear they're talking about defamation here. Another big point of this, and this has to do with why they're suing the companies, is breach of contract. They're claiming that these people saying that he breached contract and in turn cutting him out of the companies, that in it of itself is a breach of contract. Essentially a big no you. You breached contract, so suck it. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I'm not a fucking lawyer. This seems to be what other people are garnering from it, but I'm sure there's going to be some lawyers going over this, so we'll actually have a bit better of an understanding of exactly what they're going after each other with. But then we see here, so that was count 1, count 2, defamation, and that's going against Emiru and Asmongold. So he's suing both of them for defamation. Now for count 3 here, declaratory judgment. From my very minimal Google
from the pen to the TV, Kyle will be sorry.
My understanding is essentially they're looking for like an actual, like a judgment on who breached what. Like, is it actually Mizkif breaching these contracts like OTK, Mythic, and King have pointed out?
Yeah,
or is it the other way?
This is more so what I'm curious about because he's not winning that Emiru shit, like obviously. But I don't know what's going on with this.
In turn, these companies actually breached contract, not Mizkif. This third count is just demanding action from the court, being like, we want to have a verdict on who did what. And if I'm right about that, it kind of makes sense where they're saying an actual controversy exists between plaintiffs, OTK, Mythic, and King concerning the purported breaches that defendants allege plaintiffs committed. So it's like there is an actual disagreement here that we do need to sort out in regard to the breach of contract. And in terms of damages and what they're seeking, we do not have that information yet. There's no like direct numbers that are associated. Also, interestingly enough, here in damages, reputational harm, loss of business goodwill, loss of earnings, loss of future earning potential, emotional distress, and mental anguish. Now, this was something that was anticipated by Emiru. She thought it would be good for the public.
She said that in her original video / stream accusing Mizkif. She said she predicted that he was going to do this.
You know, have discovery happen so that they could see what ends up coming out. And in tandem with that, I am very interested to see what ends up coming out in discovery if this continues down the path that, you know, court cases usually take. But that leads us to talking about that letter that OTK had sent to Mizkif. Here is that letter. This is coming from OTK. Dear Matt, on or about November 6, 2023, OTK Media Inc. issued you its first notice of termination and repurchase from OTK, the first notice. As described therein, the first notice was issued as a result of your material breach of your owner's agreement between you, OTK, and its company affiliates dated October 20th of 2022. Now, this seems to be directly in reference, as they're pointing out here, talking about the original 2022 allegations that went Mizkif's way. So maybe this is what they are referencing, that this is when they had cut ties with Mizkif. But they follow up, and again, this letter had come October 24th, so this is after Emiru's, release of information. OTK has now learned that you have furthered your course of misconduct involving violence, threats, disparaging remarks, and blatant disregard for OTK and and its company affiliates, collectively the company, including without limitation King Gaming Labs Inc., KGL, and Mythic Talent Management Inc., Mythic. As a result, the company must take additional actions to address your misconduct and ultimately terminate any and all relationships between you and the company. As fully set forth below, your continued pattern of misconduct and breach of the owner's agreement have caused OTK, KGL, and Mythic to terminate their respective agreements with you and pursue claims against you. And then they make mention to some of the claims that Emiru had put out in her statement, talking about how she was threatened, or excuse me, her employee was told that he would go nuclear.
A lot of weirds. A lot of weirds. Yo, chat. I don't know what I don't know what's going on with me today. A lot of words.
If they had given any information, the blackmail part of it. As recently as Saturday, October 18th, 2025, at TwitchCon in San Diego, California, you made threatening remarks directed at Emily Shunk, PKA Emiru, an OTK owner, even after learning that she was the victim of a sexually motivated assault during a meet and greet. Upon information and belief, your threats to Emiru were made through individuals adjacent to both OTK and Emiru's personal business, and they pertain to potential allegations against you by Emiru of an exceedingly sensitive nature. Upon learning of the potential allegations, you threatened personal and professional harm to Emiru in an effort to silence her from publicizing her allegations against you. While OTK is not involved in nor aware of the content of such personal matter that you or Emiru may have with each other, OTK will not tolerate threats or misconduct by you towards members of the OTK community. The nature of Emiru's allegations, in tandem with your hostile response to them, i.e. the threats, represent only the latest, but yet some of the most egregious
Dude, this is so confusing.
instances of your misconduct in violation of your owner's agreement. And then they point out that he said some other pretty nasty things. In addition, on other recent occasions, you made him publish disparaging remarks about OTK and its talent on social media in contravention of the terms of the owner's agreement and its associated social media policy, including but not limited to the following statements: fuck streamers, fuck all of them, fuck everybody, fuck FaZe Clan, fuck the fourth floor, fuck OTK, fuck everybody. I'm just going to start being a solo streamer. I never needed anybody, they needed me. OTK failed miserably. Nobody wanted to buy it. It didn't make sense for anyone to ever purchase OTK or to run and operate OTK, so now OTK is very small. Now they go on to further talk about some other breaches of contract. Now this one doesn't have to do with like the defamation or anything, but with violating exclusivity requirements with their talent management representation agreement with Mythic. Now I've been an acting coach for a bit.
This is crazy.
I did some modeling work a couple of years ago. Essentially, like exclusivity agreements, it's just like you're only represented by us and nobody else. Based on what I'm reading here, it sounds like he was being represented by another agency or another, talent management group, and that ends up breaching a contract of exclusivity. That's essentially the most important bits of that letter, but they were essentially saying like, you've been kind of an asshat about this entire thing, and also you're breaching contracts. Now they're charging him in regard to that $600,000. Now in regard to the fact that OTK made reference to that 2020,
that makes a little. I'm starting to understand a little bit more, a little bit better.
Like the allegations that were made against Mizkif, and the fact that they were aware of that, and that's when they kind of started these talks. Some other Redditors, so again, take it with a grain of salt, we're speculating, that's a key piece of evidence because it'll show that OTK's decision was not a spur of the moment decision, and in addition to Emmy's claims, the fact he broke Mythic's agreement, along with anything else they might have on him, shows that he really did not give a flying fuck about the org and his duty as a co-owner. It's kind of insane that you would do a breach of contract like that as a co-owner of one of these organizations, or like the company OTK. Just really shows a lack of, giving a shit at all about the well-being of the company. Not to say from like
that is definitely not a good look.
A moral perspective, just more so looking at it in the eyes of how people are going to trust your decision making, and that you were caring about the company's interests when it comes to like the breach of contract. Now the weird thing about the defamation part of this is also pointed out by one of the other comments on this post. iSnow here says, wouldn't he have to prove that the claims are false, and ain't there evidence, even his own admission about them? Isn't like the crucial point of defamation that it has to be verifiably false? Seems like a Hail Mary on his part. This gets replied to with, he'll also have to prove that even if the claims are false, that Emiru and Asmongold knew they were false and maliciously lied in order to damage him financially.
So in other words, Mizkif is fucked. If this is true,
that his
then
finances were damaged by these claims. There's a reason defamation is notoriously hard to win in America. Now, this is a really good point because, some of these claims were verified with his own admission in that response that he had made shortly after, just a couple hours after Emiru had gotten done streaming and doing her statement. He said some of these events were exaggerated, or he just outright would not deny other ones, like the driving incredibly fast 150 miles an hour, saying that he was going to end both their lives on the highway. Now, from what I understand with public figures, they could go a route, and again, could be very wrong here. Look for Legal Eagle or Legal Mindsets, coverage of this, because they're going to have a much better understanding of it. But you don't always necessarily have to immediately prove that there has been financial loss, especially if you're a public figure where your reputation is tied to, how well you're doing financially. In essence, if it could be argued or understood that yes, claims like these against a person like a public figure like Mizkif could result in financial damages, then you don't necessarily need to prove it outright immediately.
Okay,
it can just
I didn't
be
know
understood that.
I didn't know that, so that's interesting.
Yes, these kinds of claims have that consequence if they're slanderous. I'm probably butchering explaining that. If we have any lawyers in the comments, please correct me. As a matter of fact, I just went to check on Twitter, and yes, Legal Mindset in the
comments too, bro. I don't know what's going on in Miami. I'm trying to
has already made a post about this lawsuit. Mizkif is going to lose this lawsuit so hilariously, I will need to supersize my popcorn for this one. He has opened himself up to complete reputational destruction while suffering the pain of discovery and legal fees. Been traveling, but will review on my next stream. I'm very curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this so far. I'm very interested to see what lawyers are going to think about it, especially in regard to how it ended up shaking out, where after this stuff came out, these companies terminating him or their relationships with him, and then saying, hey, by the way, you owe us, close to $1 million cumulatively, amongst the different companies. I don't know much about that or how that shakes out, because it's more of like company contract breach, and I'm sure that one of these
needs to sue back. I don't understand why she didn't sue him in the first place. That's what I always thought. She probably has enough to get him in trouble for it. I think that the same thing with Twitch, right? Like, why didn't she sue Twitch over like their negligence? I'm not a legal person, so I don't know, but my guess is that she probably just doesn't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because that's like a whole fucking process, and she doesn't strike me as somebody who, wants to waste time with that. Kind of just wants to be in her own thing, doing her own thing,
Yours is going to make more sense of that, in which case I'll cover it. But I'm also very interested to see how the
I think my prediction for this is that Mizkif is he's fucking himself, basically.
Defamation side of things go, especially with discovery, any of that going public like Emiru had made mention of before. It's going to be very interesting. But that's it for the video this morning. It is 3 a.m. my time. I need to go edit this, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys later. Adios. Peace. Bye.
It's good. The assets of clip farming going to be uploaded. It already is uploaded. I uploaded it last night. All right, chat. That was Quintheo. Some more context. It was good to get some more context on the lawsuit. I don't know. I don't know. My brain is just This is a hard situation for me to really. I'm not really good at legal shit, but it was definitely very interesting. Please go check out the original content. The original video will be in the top link in the description. And yeah.